Right, so if we take a look at question 1, it says, write these numbers in order of size, start with the smallest number. You must show clearly how you got your answer. So this being a non-calculator paper, let's look at what we can do. So what I'm going to do is write 2 to the 5, 64 to the half, 4 to the power 3, 8 to the 1/3, 16 and 64 to the 0. So looking at our list here, if we know indices, this can change into the square root of 64. Anything to the power half is the square root. We've got this 4 to the 3, which can stay as that for now. Then we've got the 8 to the 1/3, so that could change to the cube root of 8. So this of course would change to 8, and this would change to 2. So let's see if we can convert the numbers into something common, and it's looking like from this number here, this number here, and this number here, and this number here that we could possibly use 2. So what I'm going to try and do is change all of these numbers to 2 to the power of something. So this would therefore stay as 2 to the 5. What to the power of 2 would give you 8. That would be 2 to the 3. This would stay as 2, so 2 to the 1. And then we could change this 4 to the 3. So how would you get 4? So that would be 2 squared. So we could have 2 squared to the power 3. Yeah, and that's the same as doing that. And then of course when you've got indices, in this situation you can multiply, so it will become 2 to the 6. This stays as 2 to the 1. 2 to the what will give you 16. Well, that would be 2 to the 4. And then we've got this 64 to the power 0. Well, anything to the power of 0 is 1, meaning I could put 2 to the 0 and I would get the same answer. So now if I look at what I've got here, 2 to the 5, 2 to the 3, 2 to the 6, 2 to the 1, 2 to the 4, and 2 to the 0, I can quite easily now say which is first. So 2 to the 0, because now I can focus on the indices. That's obviously the first one. Then we have the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And that would be our numbers in order. You could, of course, clarify this, so you could write 2 to the 0, 2 to the 1, 2 to the 3, 2 to the 4, 2 to the 5, and 2 to the 6. And if you really wanted to, you could then write the originals underneath it. Okay, and that would give you your 3 marks. So when doing these kinds of questions, have a look at the numbers. From practice, you'll kind of start to spot patterns, and you'll be able to see that, okay, this needs to be to the base of 2, to the base of 3, and so on and so on. Okay? Right, so if we have a look at question 2, we're talking about buses, leaving a bus station, 1 every 24 minutes and 1 every 20. A bus to Acton and a bus to Barton both leave the bus station at 9 AM. So we've got 9 AM as our start time. So at that point, both buses depart. Now there are 2 ways in which you can do this. We've got Acton and we've got Barton. So the first way you can do this is you can list it by time. So that's what most people will probably do. So you'll do your 9 o'clock, so that's obviously when they both leave at the beginning. Okay, and then Acton is every 24 minutes. So you have 9:24, 9:48, and so on. Okay, the issue we've got here is being non-calculator. If you mess up the calculation when you go over 60 minutes, that could present a problem to you. So a quicker way of doing it, or a way in which you won't necessarily make a mistake, in my opinion, would be to just list the actual times. So if we know that Acton is going to be every 24 minutes, we can start with 24, and with Barton 20. So this topic in maths would be lowest common multiple. So we'd have 24, 48, 72, 96 and 120. Then we'd have 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. So obviously this matches with this. 120 minutes would be 2 hours. So if they both left at 9 AM, 9 AM plus the 2 hours would of course give you 11 AM. And again, that would be for your 3 marks. Okay, question 3. The normal price of a television is reduced by 30% in the sale. The sale price of a television is £350. Work out the normal price of the television. So the easiest way to approach this is, think of it like this. A TV would be represented by 100% originally. We've got here a discount of 30%. So now this telly is 100%. Take away the 30% it's reduced by, which brings it to a total of 70%. So let's say, for example, we had the price of the television and we were trying to work out the discount. Well, what you would do is you'd work out 70% of the amount. So in which case we would do 70% of TV price. So let's write original price. Okay, just leave it as original. 70% of original would equal the sale price. Okay, so if we just change this into some math terms, so this would change into 70 over 100. Of in maths means to multiply. We have our original price value there and our sale. So we could write this down one more to 0.7 times original equals sale. Now what we need to do is look at this formula and manipulate this formula to be able to answer this question. So looking at the question above, we've got here the sale price of the television is £350. So they're already telling us the answer here. What we need to find out is the original cost. So we need to do some rearranging. So what do we need to get rid of? It would be the 0.7 here. So this is 0.7 times the original. So to get rid of this, we're going to divide by 0.7. So divide by 0.7 both sides of the equal sign. And you'd end up with original equals sale over 0.7. So this is going to be the formula to use. So pushing this up here, we have the original price. Well, we can't fill that in because that's what we're trying to work out. We do know the sale price, which is £350, and then of course we've got 0.7. Now at this stage, if it was a calculator paper, it would be quite easy to put that in, but we've got one more step to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by 10, so that we can get the 7 into 35 a bit easier. So I'm going to write original equals times both by 10. Just put that here. So I have 3500 divided by 7. Well, 7 would go into 35 5 times. So this is going to be 5. So 7 into 35 is 5. Add your 2 zeros. So original equals £500. And that's your answer. Now, think about this, it has to make sense. If the sale price was £350, it's been reduced, the original must be more. So if you got an answer that was less than £350, you've messed up somewhere. So you can just do that quick check. Okay, question 4. The diagram shows a cross-section of a solid prism. The length of the prism is 2 meters. The prism is made from metal. The density of the metal is 8 grams per centimeter cubed. So as I'm reading this question, there's a couple of things that pop out to me. The first thing being this here, the density, which should help me remember the formula. Density equals mass over volume. Again, you need to know this, it's not given to you in the exam. So if I look, I've got the density value. I need to find out the mass, but I'm missing the volume. Okay, so what I can do first of all is rearrange this for mass, which means I need to get mass equals. So I can times both sides by volume. So I have density times volume equals mass. So the clue here is that I need to find volume. Now if we look here, a prism with a depth or a length of 2 meters, which means if we extend this here, make it 3D, we've now added the length of 2 meters. Now we need to do some converting because we're given density in centimeter cubed and we've got a shape with centimeter dimensions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that 2 meters into centimeters. So 2 meters is of course 200 centimeters, 1 meter being 100 centimeters. Okay, and then we can calculate the volume. So we need to remember the volume is the cross-sectional area multiplied by the depth, or in this case the length. Depth, length, same thing. So cross-sectional area. So the cross-sectional area is going to be this L shape here. So we've got compound area. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to cut this into 2. So I'm just going to cut it here, but you could also cut it here. Okay, just be aware of the dimensions. So if I cut this here, I'm going to call this shape 1 and this shape 2. Shape 1, well, that's going to be area equals 7 times 2. So area equals 14 centimeters squared. And for shape 2, if this base here is 7, and then we've got the width up here of 2, that's going to make this here 5. So that is then going to be area equals 5 times 2, so area equals 10 centimeters squared. So if I add this and this together, I'm going to get a combined area of 24 centimeters squared. So to find the volume, cross-sectional area times depth, so volume equals 24 times 200. Now again, non-calculated paper, so just make sure you know some shortcuts. 24 times 2, we can just do this. 24 times 2 will give us 48. And then we got the 2 zeros, so 4,800 centimeters cubed. Now we did this working out already, so all we need to do is substitute the numbers in. So we've got density, which is 8 times 4,800, and that equals the mass. So if I now do 48 times 8, 8 times 8 will give me 64, so I'll put 4 there and a 6 up here, and then 4 times 8 will give me 32, and 32 add 6 will give me 38. So I've got 384, and let's not forget the 2 zeros, so that will give me 38400 equals mass. So that's 38,400 as your mass, and this is of course in grams. And that's for 5 marks. Right, if we take a look at question 5, the Venn diagram shows the numbers 1 to 11. Work out P, A union B, so that means A and B. So essentially, all of these values here. So we don't have to add them up or anything like that, just how many numbers are there. And there are, how many? 8 out of how many? So what we need to make sure when we're doing Venn diagrams is we do not forget the outside. Okay, now there's 3 more numbers here, so that's going to make it out of 11. So therefore this will be 8 out of 11. Okay, if we look at B, this is going to be everything but B. So if we get this here for this question, we're going to look at everything but B. So it's going to be this value, this value, this value, this value, this value, this value, and this value. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So it will be 7 out of 11. So with Venn diagrams, you need to know the set notation. and then you'll be able to do them without too much of an issue. Right, okay, so this question 6. Harry travels from Appleton to Broccoli at an average speed of 50 miles per hour. So I'm going to write A to B. Okay, so we've got speed. Now when I see speed, I'm immediately thinking, okay, I'm probably going to have to use the formula speed, distance, time, but let's just carry on reading. He then travels from Broccoli to Canton, so B to C, and the speed is 70 miles per hour. Harry takes a total time of 5 hours to travel from Appleton to Canton, so A to C. The entire journey is 5 hours. The distance from Broccoli to Canton is 210 miles. Okay. What do I need to find out? Calculate Harry's average speed for the total distance travelled from Appleton to Canton. So I need to find the speed. Okay, and obviously in order to do that I need the distance. So the question is, can I find out the distance from what I've been given here? Well, earlier I said that I think I'm going to need to be using the speed, distance, time formula. So let me just write that down here so we know that speed equals distance over time. Now, I know some of you like to use the triangle to remember this formula. I much more prefer it to use this. So speed equals distance over time. One way you can remember it is a car. So that would be in miles per hour if you're in the UK or the US. Miles per hour. Per in mass meaning divide. So you'd have miles over hour. And you should see that this here links with distance. And this here links with time. So some of you get this confused. You write speed equals time over distance. If you remember miles per hour, that's one way to clear it up and make sure that you get it around the right way. So if I look at B to C, I've got speed, distance, but I haven't got the time. So I can work that out now. So if I write speed equals distance over time, I'm now going to just use S, D, and T. So I need time. So at the moment, distance is being divided by time. So I'm going to times by time. So I'm going to have T times S equals D. And then I need time by itself. So I need to get rid of this S. It's times S, so I need to divide by S. So therefore I have T equals D over S. So if I now substitute the values in, I've got a distance of 210 and a speed of 70. And 70 goes into 210 3 times. So T equals 3 hours. Now in the question it said A to C takes a total of 5 hours. Okay, up here. And if B to C takes 3 hours, well, that must mean A to B took 2 hours. So we can now fill in time here is 2 hours. So I've got speed and time. Now I need to find distance for A to B. So if I write S equals D over T, I need distance. So I've got divide by time, so I'm going to times by it. T times S equals D. So I've got a time of 2 hours times 50, which equals D, and therefore that is 100. So distance is 100 miles for A to B. So if I look at the end part of the question, I need to find the average speed for the total distance. So total distance is going to be the A to B part, so the first segment, A to B, which is 100. Let me just put A to B plus B to C. Okay, so that is going to be 100 plus 210, so total distance of 310. So now I've got my time, I've got my distance, I can work out the speed. So speed equals distance over time, speed equals 310 divided by 5, and the speed is 62. Now if we think about what units we have, 310 miles and 5 hours. So to finish this off, it's miles per hour. And we didn't need to do that because I've just seen that they've put miles per hour there. But it's always a good way to check. And that's your full marks for that question. Key things with questions like this is the layout. So you'll see initially I started the layout like this. Okay, you don't have to do it in this way. Just make sure that as you're writing or going through the question, you lay your work out. You make sure you label your sections. Okay, by doing so, it makes it a lot easier. If you start to get a hint as you're reading it that you may need to use a formula such as speed, distance, time, you could just write that in the top right corner or top left corner or somewhere blank, just so that you know, it's just there to help, and it might kind of get you going with the question. Right, the nth term of a quadratic sequence is n squared plus 3n minus 2. Find the fourth term of this sequence. So we need to set n. So right, set n as 4. And then we can copy n squared plus 3n minus 2. And then substitute in. So we've got 4 squared plus 3 times 4 minus 2. Well, 4 squared is 16 plus 3 times 4 is 12 minus 2. And if we do that calculation, we end up getting 26. Right, part B. Here are the first 5 terms of a different quadratic sequence. Find, in terms of n, an expression for the nth term of this sequence. So 1, 7, 17, 31, and 49. So let's have a look at the difference here. So 1 to 7 is plus 6, 7 to 17 plus 10, 17 to 31 is going to be plus 14, and 31 to 49 is going to be plus 18. Now we know it's quadratic. I know they've said it here, okay, but we know it's quadratic because these values are changing. So we need to drop it down to the second difference. So we've got a difference of plus 4, and plus 4. So I'm going to write here first difference, or first diff, and here's second difference. So we've got our second difference, which now remains constant, which means we can stop, and it's a quadratic sequence. So then we write 4n squared divided by 2. Now we divide by 2 because it's the second difference. So that brings us to 2n squared. Now we need to use this 2n squared to work out the remaining part of the quadratic sequence. So don't forget, a standard quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c. When we're looking at it in terms of a number sequence, we change the x to n, so it'd be an squared plus bn plus c. We have this part. We need to find out if this part exists for this particular sequence. So in order to do so, I'm going to write n, and that stands for the term position. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we've got our newfound value, which is 2n squared. So that's 2n squared. And now what I'm going to do is substitute the value of n in here. So I'm going to write the first one and then just do the other ones quickly. So this, what I'm asking you to do is do 2, 1, and squared. So obviously 1 squared is 1 times 2 will give you 2. So I'm just going to rub that out and Right, 2. Then I'm going to do, remember, MrBMaths indices first. 2 squared is 4, times 2 will give you 8. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. 4 squared is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. And 5 squared 25 times 2 will give you 50. Now what I need to do is compare all of these values to the original values. So if I look at 2, how does that compare with 1? Well, it's 1 away. So what I'm going to do is write -1. I then look at 8 and 7. This is -1. 18 and 17, -1. 32 and 31, -1. 50 and 49, -1. So now I have a quadratic sequence of 2n squared -1. And just to check that, you can, if we put set n as 3, we should get 17. So 2n squared -1 means I'll have 2 plus 1. 3 squared is 9 times 2, 18. 18 take away 1 gives us 17. And this matches with this. So we've got it correct. Okay, question 8. Fiza has 10 coins in a bag, 3 £1 coins and 7 50p coins. Fiza takes at random 3 coins from the bag. Work out the probability that she takes exactly £2.50. So, generally speaking, a large gap like this means that a probability tree is going to be involved. So if we look at our possibilities, it's 10 coins in total. There's a £1 coin or a 50p. So here's our starting point. We then put £1 coin, 50p. Now it says that it's out of 10, so we can do the denominators. How many £1 coins do we have? Well, we have 3, so 3 can be written there. And how many 50p's? 7. So this, if you like, is your first choice. It says here 3 coins are taken, so that means we're going to have to go again. £1 and 50p. £1 and 50p. And again, because this would be our second. So £1, 50p. £1, 50p. Oh, not £50. 50p. Okay, so now we've got our 3 choices. So now I need to fill out the probability for each of them. So let's start with the first one. So if we go with 3 out of 10 chance if we choose £1, that would mean that this would drop to 2 because we've chosen £1, and this would also drop down to 9. Now the 50p would stay the same, so we have 7 out of 9. And let's do the next one down. So we've got our 50p choice. Well, this would go to 6 out of 9. And our £1 would stay at 3, so it's 3 out of 9. Now let's go to the third step. This would then change to 1 out of 8. Our 50p would be 7 out of 8. And if we look at this choice here, 7 out of 9 with a 50p, so we go to 6 out of 8. So 50p is chosen, and 2 out of 8. And then we go for this route here, 50p, £1, and then £1, so this would be 2 out of 8. This would stay as 6 out of 8. Then we'd have 3 out of 8, 5 out of 8. So at the beginning it says, work out the probability that she takes exactly £2.50. So what you need to do now is look at the combinations. Okay, so if we look here, if we take this, we choose a different colour. If we choose this path, and this path, well, that's going to add up to £3. So it's not that. Next, if we go pound, pound 50p, well that's £2.50. So it will be this route, pound 50p and a pound. It will be this route, pound 50p 50p. That will be £2. So it won't be that route. 50p a pound, yes. 50p a pound 50p, no. 50p 50p a pound, no. 50p 50p 50p, no. Right, so I'm going to have fraction 1, which is going to be 3/10, or choice 1. 3/10 followed by, remember, across 3 times, going down we add. So we've got 3/10 times 2/9 times 7/8. For 2, we have 3/10 times 7/9 times 2/8. And for 3, we have 7/10 times 3/9 times 2/8. So if we look at the answer to these, 3 times 2, that's going to give us 6, and 6 times 7 will give us 42. 10 times 9 will give us 90, and then we need 90 times 8. So that will be 9 times 8 will give us 72, add the 0, 720. Then we've got here 3 times 7, 21. 21 times 2, 42. 10 times 9 times 8, well that's 720 as well. Then if we do 7 times 3, that's 21. 21 times 2, that's 42 out of 720. So remember, adding down, we add. So 42 plus 42 plus 42. The denominators are the same, so we have over 720. Well, that's going to be 126. And there's your answer for this question. Question 9. Solve x minus 1 squared minus 2x plus 1 minus 3 equals 0. So solve, meaning we need to find a solution for x. Okay, our solutions. So what we can do is expand this. So we've got x minus 1 minus 2x minus 1 minus 3 equals 0. So if I expand this using FOL, I end up with x squared minus x plus 1 minus 2x plus 2 minus 3 equals 0. If I simplify this, I've got x squared minus x, well that's minus 2x plus 1 minus 2x plus, or plus 2 minus 3 is minus 1 equals 0. So dropping this down, I then have x squared minus 2x, that would be minus 4x, and then plus 1 take away 1 will give us 0. So that equals 0. We can then factor this, so we've got x squared and 4x. So x, open bracket, x minus 4 equals 0. So we have one solution where x equals 0, and then we have x minus 4 equals 0, therefore x equals 4. So two solutions, x equals 0 or x equals 4, and that is for total 4 marks. So make sure you can expand, and make sure you can factorize, and of course simplify to do so. Right, okay, and the last question, 10. OACD is a trapezium made from 3 equilateral triangles. OA is A, OB is B, and M is the midpoint of CD. Write AB in terms of A and B. So we need to get from A to B, so this route right here. Okay. Now what we can look at is what we've been given. So we've been given this B here and this A. So if the vector is pointing in this direction, that would make it positive. So in order for us to go in the opposite direction, we would have to use a negative value. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do, so if I want to look at going from A to B, I need to go this way, followed by this way. Now that A is going in up and from O to A, so it's a positive. So I'm going to go with minus A, and that will take me on this route here. And then this is a direction from O to B, so that would remain as positive. So it's minus A plus B. So this would be for AB. So if we just write that on our diagram, so A to B is minus A plus B. Now the next question asks us, show that OC is parallel to BM. So OC, how do we get from O to C? Well, we've got an equilateral triangle, so this part up here would be B2, this path. So the easiest way to get from O to C would be plus A plus B. If we look at BM, we start at B, we know that again this here will be B. So we can start off with plus B, and then from what we've worked out in a previous part, we've then got this CD, which would be minus A plus B as well. Yeah, because it would be parallel lines, and it's an equilateral triangle. So to get from B to M, we would follow this path here. So B to M. Well, this is the path that I'm going to follow at least. Okay, so if we have a look, we remember from the beginning that this minus A plus B is a path going in this direction. Now if you notice from here, I want to go from across here, which is fine for B, it's positive, but I want to go backwards, okay, which means I have to use a negative. So what we're going to end up with is plus B, which I've written already, then minus A plus B over 2. Now where did the over 2 come from? Well, it said at the beginning that M is the midpoint of CD. Minus A plus B is for the entire length. I only want half of it, so that's why I've got the half here. So if I then rewrite that, I've got plus B plus A minus B over 2. Now I need to do some fraction work, so this will be over 1. So I'll end up with 2B plus A minus B over 2. 2B, take away B, would be just B. So I'll have A plus B over 2. I can then factor this to 1/2 A plus B. And this then matches exactly with this. Okay, so the A plus B part will show that they're both parallel. And that's your 5 marks.